Hi, welcome back. I hope you had a really great week. I'm Daniel Hylton, and today we're going to do another oil painting using the Alla Prima method, or the wet on wet technique. Now, this painting we're going to do today is actually from a memory. When my wife and I were young, in fact, we were just boyfriend-girlfriend at the time, having met a few months earlier, it was in spring, and we were hiking up in the mountains above where we lived. The weather had warmed, there was still snow on the high peaks, but down lower everything was greening up. And we came across this meadow. It was just filled with wildflowers, just a carpet of wildflowers. Beautiful sight. Stunning, actually. In fact, it prompted my wife, when we got married several months later, to use wildflowers as her wedding bouquet. So today, I'm going to try to recreate that memory. So, let me get my glasses. Let's start the timer. Get the palette here. And let's get going. Now today, again, I'm not going to want... I want this to be a fairly sunny day, because it was a sunny day that day, and I'm not going to really worry about there being a whole lot of clouds. If there is anything, it's just going to be kind of, maybe a high, thin overcast, but I want it to be lighter down here toward the bottom, because I want it to look like it's definitely a really sunny day. Actually, just something like that will work, I think. So let me blend this in, and that'll be our sky. Okay. Yeah, I like that. And there was not a real sharp peak mountain, but was a mountain in the background. I want to put it pretty high in the painting, so let's go about here, I guess. And something like that, I think. I think I want that to be a little bit rounder and maybe a little broad over here too. Okay, that'll work. Get a brush here and pull all this down. You know, I told you we were hiking in the mountains above where we lived. I'll tell you something. I was an outdoors fella my whole life. See, and I'm just gonna have a little bit of snow, so I want some gray. So mix up a little gray here. I was an outdoor fella my whole life. I worked outdoors, played outdoors. One of my favorite things was hiking in the mountains up above where we lived. And when I met her, she always kind of looked like a walking advertisement for Macy's or Saks Fifth Avenue. I mean, she was all dressed to the nine. Dresses, high heels. She was, she looked like the typical city girl. And if she looked like a walking advertisement for Saks Fifth Avenue, I looked like a guy who'd been in the woods too long. All right, let's get some white on there in the mountains. And it was fine at first, because I'm going to have the sun over here today. It was fine at first because I don't want a whole lot of snow up here. Yeah, I don't want a whole lot of snow. It was fine at first because, we were always going out to dinner someplace or something like that. And so I liked the way she was dressed a lot. But as we started getting serious, I began to worry a little bit about compatibility, because I thought maybe she might not like the kind of things I like to do. And so I worried a little bit about that. So I thought, what if she didn't like to do anything outside? Because, wandering around the high mountains, that was my favorite thing to do. And I thought, what if she didn't like that? Now, that doesn't mean I was a hunter. I've never really been a hunter. And I like to fish, but I never really been good at that either. But, yeah. Sorry, I'm going to get in front of you here for a minute. Kind of look at this. I don't want a whole lot of snow up there. I think that'll work. I'm going to have some trees climbing up that slope back there. Yeah, this brush will work. Well, anyway, I began to worry about compatibility because, I didn't know how compatible we were. If she was even going to like some of the things that I liked or not. And so I decided one Friday night after we got back from one of our dates, our regular, dinner and movie dates, I decided to ask her. I said, do you like to do anything outdoors? I said, oh boy, okay, I'm gonna have to fix that. There we go. And let me fix this real quick. Okay, now I got to put some more snow on that. But anyway, so I asked her, I said, you ever do any hiking? And she said, not really. And I said, well, would you like to go hiking with me sometime? She said, yeah, I guess so. That sounds like fun. So I said, well, why don't we go hiking tomorrow and have a picnic? She said, sure. Now, above the valley where we lived, there were two buttes, two big mountains, a big butte and a little butte. And the big one went up to about 6,500 feet. They were both volcanic constructs. There was a road that went up to the top of the big one. I'd been up there several times. But the little butte, there was no road. You had to climb it. I'd never climbed it, and I'd heard somebody told me that there were caves up there near the top. And I'd always kind of wanted to go see that. So I suggested to her, I said, would you like to go have I think I have kind of a valley over here. I said, why don't we climb up on top of the little butte tomorrow? Would you like to do that? And she said, sure, sounds like fun. Okay, I'm gonna put some hills back here. She said, sure, that sounds like a blast. So I said, okay, well, I'll get a picnic lunch together and I'll pick you up tomorrow about noon. She said, okay. Now my sun's gonna be over here, so I'm gonna have these foothills be dark on the backside. And she said, sure, sounds like fun. So I said, well, I'll pick you up at noon tomorrow. So next day, okay, that looks fairly good, but so the next day I went over her house to pick her up. I had my hiking boots on and my Levi jacket. All that okay now. I'm gonna have some trees on the corner. Let's see. I'm gonna have a big slope that comes down here. Something about like that, I think. Anyway, I went to pick her up. I had hiking boots, Levi jacket, Levi's, all that jazz, ready to go. And I'd bought some picnic stuff, prepackaged picnic stuff from the store. Pulled up to her house. She met me at the door. She had on a crisp white blouse, a nice leather jacket with sequins and fringe. She was wearing black slacks, dress slacks, and high-heeled boots. I just assumed she'd forgotten, Or maybe she'd made, maybe she'd made other plans, do something else that day rather than, go hiking with me. So I asked her, I said, oh, did you have other plans for today? And she said, no, I thought we were going to climb the little butte today. She was not dressed for it. So I said, oh, okay, well, when you're ready. She said, I'm ready. All right. So we headed out there. Let's see. I need some trees over here on this backside. Now these trees on the left are going to be really, really dark because, let's see, because the sun's over there, so these trees here are going to be pretty dark. Well, anyway, so we headed up there, and on the way I was thinking, well, if she turns an ankle or breaks a heel or just gets tuckered out, I thought, well, I can. She wasn't a very big girl. She slender, willowy thing, probably didn't weigh more than 100 pounds. So I thought, well, worst comes to worst, I can pick her up and carry her back to the truck. So, because Little Butte, it was basically just sagebrush, lava rock, nasty piece of work. Well, I was in for the surprise of my life. I'm going to have some of these go down over the hills, I think, kind of disappear in the distance. I was in for the surprise of my life. That girl, dressed like she was, went all the way to the top of that butte and all the way back down to the truck. I knew then she was the girl for me. Okay, we've already burned up 11 minutes here, so I better get going. Let's see. Yeah, I want these trees over here to be quite dark. Yeah, I knew then that she was the girl for me. I'm going to have one in the foreground that's darker than the rest, because like I said, these trees over here, the sun's down here. I think I'll move this one right here. I'm going to put a little black in there, and I'm going to bring this tree right here into the foreground. Make it be the tree in the foreground, because like I said, the sun's over there, and this is going to throw quite a shadow. Okay. All right, I better get busy over there. Now these over here, these trees need to be a little brighter because they're in the sunshine, so they don't need to be too dark. And they're going to be growing in a little meadow here, so I'm gonna. Tell you something though. After the Little Butte experience, we started having a lot of Saturday dates. Well, I messed that one up. We started having a lot of Saturday dates. Picnics. We'd drive up to High Valley or Dry Buck Summit. And I put drive up to West Mountain, and we had a lot of picnics, and we did a lot of hiking and stuff, and I really enjoyed that. But I will tell you something, it brought kind of a hideous element into our courtship. Okay, that's going to have to be good. I got to get going on this hillside here. We not long after the not long after the little butte adventure. It was another nice Saturday, getting a little bit later in spring, and I suggested that we go up to Ben Ross Reservoir and have a picnic on that Saturday. She said, sure, and I'll make the picnic. I'll make the picnic stuff. I thought, great, because, you know, when I make picnic stuff, it's, I'm going to put a little yellow in that. When I make picnic stuff, it came out of a store, but she was going to be, you know, more domestic than me and make some genuine picnic stuff. Make a picnic meal. So I said, yeah, great. So I picked her up. We went up to Ben Ross Reservoir, found a really pretty, had a nice pretty slope that went down. Okay, now that I've got to get some color in this, because this, you know, this goes down toward the sunshine here. I'm gonna have to maybe, because I gotta have a line of demarcation between this hillside and that one back there in the back. Okay. Oh, I need a little darkness there, of course, because that's a downslope. Well, anyway, so we found this place. Oh, you know, and I need real shadow over there. I need real shadow over there. Here. This tree needs to be darkened up a bit. Yeah. And I need some shadow over here. This needs to be dark. Okay. I need to bring all of this in. Well, anyway, we found a really nice spot, and so we set up our blanket, and she got out her picnic basket, and she'd made baked beans, which I love, and little sandwiches. She had ham and Swiss on wheat and turkey and Swiss on rye, and oh man. And I thought, this is going to be great. Then she got out this, here, I need to have that. This is going to be the sunshine there, so that one little spot. Okay, I need some brush here. I need, let's see. I need some brush right in here. Kind of separate this. Maybe some chaparral brush. Well, I need some rocks in there too. Let me put some rocks in there. So anyway, she, well, let me see. Let me get some of this gray over here. And let's have maybe several rocks. Get some black underneath them to make them show up on the back side here. And some lighter gray on the front. Make them look like rocks. I don't want to make them too white, but I kind of want them to be lighter. Well, we're getting close here. I'm going to have to get going here. So anyway, I'm looking forward. I'm going to have another rock maybe like that. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to have a little stand of trees right in the middle of this meadow. Just some little trees right here. Maybe one that goes up into there. So I was telling you, she opened this, she got it this Tupperware container. And inside that container, well, she opened it up. And stuck a spoon in and put a big dollop of something out on my plate. It was potato salad. Now, potato salad is not food. It's hideousness of the highest order. There's some dark brush here against these rocks. My mother loved potato salad. I've hated it my whole life. And one time my mother, she said, you know, if you would just eat it sometime, a whole plate, and she put a plate out for me. She said, if you just eat this whole plate of potato salad, I promise you that you'll like it. Now, down here, I'm gonna need a whole lot of like twigs and stuff, stems and stuff coming up. So my mother gave me a whole plate of potato salad. I ate the whole thing. I did not like it afterwards. I hated it more then than I ever had. Well, I'm gonna try to brighten this ridge up here, back here a little bit. It's a little too dark in spots. I need to just brighten it up a little. I'm from Idaho. You know I love potatoes. But potato salad, that's not food. So here I am. I'm looking at this big dollop of potato salad all over my plate. And I'm thinking, man, this is the girl I'm falling in love with. Don't want to offend her. In fact, I'm hoping to start talking to her about marriage. And I can't just toss this. Can't tell her I don't like it. I mean, she's already put it on my plate. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was looking at it, I began to realize the only way that I was going to get rid of that stuff was to eat it. So I thought, well, what I need to do is I just need to eat it as quickly as I possibly can. I need to make this look like stems here. Excuse me, I'm in your way here. So what I need to do is I just need to eat this stuff as quick as I can, get rid of it, and then I can kill a taste with some of that. Yeah, I need that marked a little better back there. Okay. I said then I can, I told myself then I can eat the beans and everything, get rid of that horrible taste. And so I need to have this come up here a little further on these rocks. And I need some of this in here not to be stems, I guess. In fact, I need some of that chaparral brush down in here. Just have another little place of interest. Kind of break this up over in here a little bit. Okay, now we need some flowers. We got 5 minutes. So now wildflowers, white wildflowers, tend to grow in patches. I'm going to have some back here. And some of that. And we need some up here. Like I said, these wildflowers in the mountains, they tend to grow in pretty large patches. So let's have a few patches of flowers around, white flowers around. A few little isolated patches. Let's have some big patches of them. Don't want too many of them. Okay. Now, there's some red flowers that grow. Vertical, like this. And we need some of those around in spots. Back in here, maybe. Okay, so anyway, I decided the only thing to do was to eat that potato salad. I know I've never understood this anyway. You take an innocent, unsuspecting potato that's never harmed anybody. You boil it, you cut it up, because I like potatoes. I like them boiled. I like them fried in butter. I like mashed potatoes and gravy. I like baked potatoes. I like French fries. I even can tolerate potato soup. But to take an innocent potato, boil it up, cut it in pieces, and then force it to consort with onions, boiled eggs, pickles, celery, mayonnaise, and mustard. Some of those things are okay by themselves, but together, it's not food. So I thought, I got to get rid of that. So I scooped it up, ate as quickly as I could. That was a horrible error. Her face broke into the most beautiful smile. And she said, "Oh, you like my potato salad? I'm so glad." And she scooped some more on my plate. So, for the next few months, I ate a lot of potato salad, usually 2 helpings. Let's have some blue flowers, what do you say? Usually 2 helpings. Let's have a few blue flowers around. But I'll tell you, so, our picnics became kind of a dichotomy of the wonderfulness of sharing her company and the hideousness of eating potato salad. Oof. But I survived, took it like a man, made it all the way to the wedding. When we got married, I sat her down and I said, "Sweetheart, I really don't like potato salad." Never have. She asked me, she said, why'd you eat so much of it then? I said, well, I was trying to get you to marry me. She laughed. I think she's still laughing. In fact, I think she heard the story and she's laughing again about it. But anyway, we're kind of like Jack Sprat and his wife. I mean, she eats kale, for crying out loud. I grow it in my garden for her. Okay, now I'm running out of time here. I got to have some yellow flowers. Just a few. Got to have some yellow around. Just to give this some. Okay. And I'm going to, well, that's it. We're out of time. So I'm going to kind of highlight this brush back here a little bit. And this brush, maybe that. Well, we're done, because that's our 30 minutes. So I'm going to sign this, and we're done. But while I'm signing, I'm going to tell you, my wife and I were kind of like Jack Sprat and his wife. I mean, she eats kale, for crying out loud. And kale, as everybody knows, is not food. I mean, I grow it in the garden for her, and even the critters won't eat it. The deer will come in and eat my English peas. The squirrels will eat my tomatoes. And the rabbits will eat the tops of the carrots and the beets. None of them will touch the kale. She eats it, though. It's not food, but she thinks it is. So I grow it for her. All right. You know what? This is our third one, so I'm going to put a 3 right here. Let me put the... Okay. Well, thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you next week. Until then, God bless. Take care.